Good morning, everybody. Monday morning quarterback, episode 7. Got back from Phoenix last night. Left 98 degree weather, snowing when we got home. So not a whole lot of racing getting kicked off in the Midwest with all this weather, but we're hopeful that it warms up this week and we can get some things started. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Like I said, we were out at Phoenix last week. And let me get scrolled up here. We were out at Phoenix last week, and we had a rough go with the cars that we drug out there, but we had some customers win some races. Jeffrey Erickson swept the junior classes. He did that at Daytona as well, so he's sitting in a great spot for the national championship. And Taylor Watson won the heavy Honda race. So overall, it was a good weekend for CSI. And Brody Rowe won a USAC 360 race at Tulare, I believe, over the weekend. And like I say, pretty much everything else out here got washed out. So got a few questions that people emailed in. For those of you joining, feel free to comment with a question, and we'll get that answered. Let me get that pulled up here so I can see everybody's questions. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is whether people like this time or not. So when we got this started, we were just trying to see and kind of gauge what the interest was going to be. So we'd like to know if the noon Eastern works for everybody. So just comment or send me a DM. Let me know. We'll have to do some later in the evening in May. As we go on track at noon every day at the Speedway. So give us some feedback. Let us know what time you would like, because we're doing this for you guys and trying to help educate not only our customers but everybody in the industries we're working in. And so the more people we can share our knowledge with, the better. So just let us know what time works best for everybody. Coming up this week, not exactly sure where we're going to go yet, as we're moving next week, and so we got a lot going on here at the shop. But Kokomo Midget Grand Prix this week. World of Outlaws are at Jacksonville and Hobstadt. I'm sure we're going to hit some or all of that. Kevin Crum, right as he rolls out of bed. So Todd's got a question. We appreciate that question. We'll get that answered. So as I just stated, we are moving next week, so anybody that needs something, please plan ahead. We're going to be closed all next week, so Friday's our last shipping day for a whole week, and we apologize for the inconvenience, but we got a lot of stuff going on trying to get moved and getting our new shop built out, and we were hoping that it wasn't going to have to be a full week, but that's really the only way it's going to play out. So plan ahead. Friday's our last ship day. We're getting moved next week, and we'll take care of everybody as best we can there. So our new shop's only 3-4 miles from where we're currently at. Real similar space. Just going to get to do a fresh layout and kind of reorganize as far as that's concerned. So we've been busy over there doing the build out of the new shop, getting all the dynos wired and flooring put in the showroom and all that good stuff. So I'll start rolling into the questions that were emailed in ahead of time. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. So Todd actually emailed in, should we be running bumpers on the right rear all the time? Wing 360 on short tracks. That's kind of a personal preference. We're starting to see this more frequently, though, with the wing guys running our bump kit across the rear, whether the track's heavy and rough or slick. Seems to be working really well. So it's very tunable kit, as I've mentioned before. And so I think you can get a combination, Todd, where you can run that bump rubber kit all the time, and then you're just going to be tuning with either a different durometer puck or the gap. And that'll allow you to run that bump rubber all the time. And I certainly think there's advantages, especially on the short tracks, where we get in dirty air early in the race and we lose the attitude of the car really easily. And so that bump rubber kit's kind of helping us hold a nice attitude, helping the car roll through the corner and carry corner speed the way we need to. So good question there. First question that was emailed in was a guy had asked about travel shocks, and do I recommend having a specific set of shocks to travel up and down the road in the trailer to the races? Easy answer is no, I don't. We don't utilize travel shocks. I do recommend putting either like a 4x4 block of wood under the car or an airbag if you have access to that, because you're going to wear the torsion bars out on a torsion bar style car quicker than you will the shocks. So we don't use travel shocks even at the IndyCar level. You know, if they're going to fail going up and down the road in the trailer, you certainly don't want them on the car for the race. So I would be concerned about the torsion bars, though. There's no sense in putting any extra stress on that. So definitely block the car or an airbag if that's an option. Next question. Had a guy order a set of gas shocks, and we recommended to buy shock covers. He chose to not get shock covers, and first race out unfortunately had a rock dent the shock body. And so his question was, you know, he'd had twin tube shocks before, and even though he'd get a dent in the body, everything was still good. Why does he have to have shock covers? So it's an easy answer there, and that is on a twin tube shock, there's actually the piston rides up and down in a tube inside of the outer body. So if the outer body gets a dent, it's not necessarily going to affect the piston moving up and down in the cylinder. If it's a big enough dent, it could have ruptured the gas bag. But a small dent on a twin tube shock is not going to be problematic. On a monotube or a gas shock, the piston rides up and down on the inner wall of the body. So if you get a dent in the body, it's going to not allow the piston to go up and down in the cylinder smoothly, chipping the piston or just locking the piston up in the body. And so that's why it's so important to run shock covers on your gas shocks, because not only does it keep them looking nice, but if you get a big enough dent in the body, you'll break a piston. And depending on where you race, you know, and how rocky the track is, really dictates the need for that and whatnot. But most places we've been in the country, you're going to need to run a shock cover to prevent any major malfunctions there. So for those of you guys tuning in, fire away with some questions. We only had a couple emailed in this week. Kind of a slow week, as I think 70% of the races around the country got rained out. So we were fortunate to be out west in the sunshine, and we didn't get rained out there, but I know a lot of places did. That reminded me, actually, another win over the weekend was our little buddy Brandon Sampson. We got to see him out at Phoenix at the quarter midget race, and then he won the next day at the micro race. Wish we could have been there for that, but we had to jump on a plane and get home, as we're busy trying to fill orders and get everybody's repaired shocks out and done before we have to close next week to get everything moved to the new space. So, question that keeps popping up, and it's actually the last one I've got, and that is my shocks leaking gas pressure. RJ, you're still my hero, and I'm glad I got to see you at Phoenix. And good luck this week at Paris. So, leaking gas out of the shocks. 9 times out of 10, it's you don't have the inflation tool tight on the Schrader valve, or the internal copper crush washer is no longer making a good contact and it's not sealing, and that's where it's leaking from. It's not actually the shock leaking, it's the tool leaking when you go to check the pressure. An easy fix is to put a little O-ring in there, and then you don't have to tighten it near as tight, and it'll seal off. So if you ever feel like you're 100% certain the shock's leaking nitrogen, I recommend just putting some in there, letting the shock sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then just depress the Schrader valve and see if nitrogen is leaking out. The volume is so small, most of the time if you're leaking something out, it's going to be all gone, but just because the volume is so small. So make sure that inflation tool is seating on the shock properly, and that's more than likely where the issue comes from. So a couple questions. Let me scroll. Untying the left rear a bunch on a slick track. Jay, what type of car are you referring to? Comment with that type of car you're referring to, and I can better answer that question. Matt, do I ever want to race a Ford Focus Midget again? No, I'm going to live vicariously through my son. If he decides he wants to race, my career's over. For those of you who don't know, I broke my neck, oh gosh, a long time ago, racing a Ford Focus Midget at Santa Maria Speedway out in California. Raced my whole life, never got a scratch, but that night was a big one. So, okay, Jay, smaller. What type of car? Micro sprint, wing sprint car, non-wing sprint car? Let us know what type of car. Kevin Crum. Okay, so left front of a micro, compression from a 27 to a 32. What's the difference there? About, obviously that's a 5-pound difference. So I try to look at it, on a percentage, and I think anything that's over, 10-15%, the driver's going to feel that difference. In traditional valving numbers, a 2-valve is a 25 to a 32-pound range by most builders' standpoints. So you're kind of going to go, both of those are still classified as a 2-valve, but they are different. That's why we're giving everybody true dampening numbers. So, Kevin, I would think that the Chance probably would be able to notice the difference there, and it's probably getting down on the left front a little bit easier. So if you have any further questions with that, let me know. But I think a 5-pound spread there, that's farther apart than I would like to see. If a shock came in here at 32 pounds, we would try to keep it within about 3 pounds either way on a rebuild. So can you show us one of the new shock adjustment sheets you do now? Don, I would show that to you, but I don't have one here in the office. So I'll make sure next week I have one of the new adjustment sheets. So for those of you that have gotten shocks from us recently, you'll notice our new recommendation sheet's a little different. We're not giving that traditional valving number any longer. We're giving the true dampening number for each adjustment. We're still highlighting in yellow where we'd like you to start, red where we'd like you to go when it gets slick, and blue for a heavy, rough track condition. But we're giving you a true dampening number rather than a old valving number that doesn't mean a whole lot. It's not a true unit of measure. So, Don, once I show you how to do that, you're actually one of the guys that attended our shock seminar at the Clausen Marshall shop this winter. Still winter, even though it's spring. Once I show you how we're doing that sheet, you should be able to fill in one of those sheets yourself because you know how to read your dyno sheets now. So it's really, really simple as far as filling those numbers in, and then the recommendation didn't change on our end. So, so Jay's a 410 wing sprint car. Typically, when the track slicks off, Jay, we are not taking rebound out of the left rear, and so in the old days, that's what everybody did. Took rebound out of the left rear. What happens now, the cars are so aero dependent, and when it comes to A-main time and the track's slicking off, we're not getting near as much air. Sorry about that. It looked like we got locked up there. I'll start back from the top there with Jay's question. Wing sprint car taking rebound out of the left rear. If the video didn't lock up, I apologize, but it looked like it locked up. We don't do that any longer because as the track slicks off, you slow down, you don't have as much wing speed, and in dirty air, you don't have as much air getting to the wing, so the car doesn't want to lay left. And for a wing sprint car to be fast, it has to lay left and make E. So what we're doing is we're keeping rebound. We're actually adding rebound to the left rear to keep the car with the right attitude. And by doing that, yes, it keeps the car a little bit freer, but mechanically we can tighten the car up other ways. Bringing the wheel in. A lot of guys are running deeper offset right rear wheels when it gets slick. And even adding rebound to the right rear shock to keep the whole back of the car planted. We do that very carefully because it's really easy to get a wing car nowadays, the way the tires are, kind of stuck on the right rear and not rolling that corner and making speed. So you got to be really careful with a wing sprint car to not get it too tight where it won't roll the corner nice. But that's a very good question. If you need more detail on that, been a busy Monday. If you need more detail on that, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll help you out as best I can there. So, if there's no other questions, we'll sign off for this week. Even though we're closed next week, I'll still do a Monday morning quarterback. Not sure where I'll do it from, whether we'll be here or at the new shop, but we're going to keep doing this every week. And again, comment or send me a DM as far as time's concerned, if this time works, or if you'd rather me do it in the evening when everybody's home and off work. We'll mix it up because we're doing it for you guys. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Hope you have a great week, and look forward to talking to you again next week.